So good afternoon, everybody. Very nice place. Peter, I enjoyed your slides very much, although I did not understand one single word, but still they were nice. Peter told me in the head that we will have some overlap in our presentations due to the fact that I didn't understand a word. You will have to figure out now where they are. But I think there are significant, assumptions that we share in mind. So thanks for the invitation. I will talk a little bit about how the digital landscape, and especially when it comes to display advertising, changed over time and where we are today. And then would like to talk a little bit about why I think that we have to think about, in which shape are we when it comes to the current development in the digital market. Do we have the right KPIs? Do we have the right models to face the new developments on the market? And we'll talk a little bit about branding, especially. In the second part of my presentation, I will talk about how we interface with media agencies, how it works, and finish with a very fresh case study. To my background, thanks for the kind introduction. I am the founder of nugg.ad, of this company that is known as the ones who invented the so-called predictive behavioral targeting. We're a Berlin-based company with several offices across Europe. And actually, I've been working in this market even before, because before that, I've been working for TNS or Gallup, better known as Gallup, I think, in your country, on audience measurement and stuff like that. And therefore, I've been to the nice city of Denmark, Copenhagen, before as well. Yes, those are our offices. We have a local office in Copenhagen as well. Thomas and Danny are here, so we are on the ground and not only in Berlin. And the last slide, talking about to what extent we are in the Danish market. We established our business around here quite early, together with Peter, chief of internet, as I learned, from nugg.ad. So we're very proud to be in that market since a long time, and established the first cross-publisher network, PPT network. But I think you will see more of that later on. So we are pretty much there since a long time and proud to serve this market. And just to give you an impression what I'm talking about, when you run such a platform for targeting, what does that mean? For example, we get up to 15,000 requests per second. So while I'm talking, there are guys in Berlin managing that amount of requests, where website asks our system, who is that? Which ad should I show? Is it male, female, and this kind of stuff. So we have to deal with a lot of big data stuff, so a lot of data that is being collected and a lot of algorithms that are being applied and so on. So now let me talk about the first question. What is going on in the European market currently after we managed the crisis of 2009? What are the big things we should think about when we ask ourselves whether we are right in shape? One impressive thing still, and I've been working in that area since a long time, and it has always, even in 2009, in the most markets, it has been like that. We're constantly growing, So the digital space is growing massively, and everyone expects that, to not end over the next few years. So we are the biggest upcoming media, and I think one of the big changes we currently see is that we're growing. We are no longer the niche media where media planners say, well, let's do a little bit of internet into the media plan. The picture really changes now, and we're getting into the position of a lead medium for many advertisers already. So that's a nice thing. So we see two-digit growth in most markets in Western Europe, and we think that it will pretty much stay like that. One interesting finding, I don't have a slide for that, is that especially display advertising is growing, is coming back. And in some markets already faster in terms of growth than search advertising, which is quite an impressive news in our market. But also in general, we see a lot of growth. And one of the questions is, is it just growing, just getting more ad impressions, more money, or are there some kind of qualitative factors behind that growth, which we should have in mind? And one thing, of course, is that you can reach other, you have other means of reaching audiences, niche audiences, than in classical media. That's what a study from IB UK says. And the other thing, obviously, is that we are pretty good in return on investment when it comes to sales uplift or simply reaching your audience. So there are some specific driving factors why budgets are being shifted to online behind that growth. So another thing we should have a look at, and I think Peter was pretty much talking about exactly that, is that the media buying online is kind of changing its face. So if you think about that question, someone is trying to introduce a new car into the market, the advertiser, and he wants to do some advertising for that. How did we deal with that in the past? So he asked for some websites, a collection of websites, channels that are talking about cars, automotive websites, the typical channel approach, which was pretty much, how the problem was solved in the classical industry, like in the print business, for example. It's exactly that kind of problem solving that we applied to the internet. And what changed here is that nowadays people in media agencies, advertisers, publishers are more and more saying, we are able to deliver audiences. We don't need this buy step, by using specific kinds of websites. We directly can address audiences. And of course, that fits better into the problem, because that's what the advertiser is looking for. And if you look at this interesting study for the Danish markets, where marketeers have been asked which kind of channel or technology are you thinking about using in the future? And looking about on television, online marketing, social media, and this kind of stuff, you see that a lot of that is pretty much on the same level. Like television is not disappearing; it's perhaps going a little bit down. Online marketing is on a constant level. Banner ads are on the same level. And besides social media, which is not surprising, that this is going up, you see a massive growth in behavioral targeting, where advertisers, marketeers are saying, this is something we want to use more frequently in the future. And it perfectly makes sense, if you look at the whole story. That's about buying audiences instead of channels or placements, like we did in the past. And if you look at a targeting system, it pretty much tells exactly that story. And I will also explain why we call it predictive behavioral targeting, because the classical targeting systems can only deliver what people click. So if you have finance websites, you will have a behavioral targeting segment for finance advertisers, automotive, and so on. But what about an advertiser that wants to introduce a new hair coloring product, for example, or a new kind of fancy butter product or a low-fat something? Usually you won't find behavior on the web. So you need other means of describing those audiences and finding those people. And that's the whole thing behind the predictive, in predictive behavioral targeting, that we applied market research and we're combining the tracking numbers, with market research figures. So we ask people about, income or health, or we ask them, do you care about low-fat products and this kind of stuff, to get additional information, to get a full picture of what that guy is interested in, and then apply it to an algorithm and are able to, everyone who is clicking around will be identified whether he is interested in real estate or not, and so on. So this is how we solve the problem for the butter and the hair coloring products. So the solution is more complete, you could say. But coming back about to what is changing in our market, if you look about to how media is bought currently, and this is a study done by eConsultancy for the Rubicon guys, so it's not a total surprise what the outcome is. But nevertheless, it still tells a story that the classic buying, which you see here, sales houses, the classical buying is still very big, and by the way, I think it will never disappear, because you need that for many reasons. But we see much more, networks, exchanges, demand-side platforms, so more automated ways of getting access to audiences. And guess what? It's about buying audiences, obviously, because one thing you don't get usually from those guys is placements, the classical approach. They go down the audience approach, and therefore that again tells the story that even the buying behavior from the agencies is shifting towards buying audiences instead of classical placement buying. So, as I said in the beginning, now I want to talk about, are we in a good shape to deal with that? Where are we when it comes to the new budgets, the branding budgets, the television budgets that are about to shift to online? And I have to go back a little bit, where we are coming from. So if you talk about the internet, interactive media, what did we expect in the beginning? We thought it is an excellent thing because we have a mass media reach. We can reach a lot of people. We have the capability of one-to-one built into that, different than classical media. And we had direct response, which was cool, so people could click on something, we got direct response. Excellent. So what happened was this, this is how it turned out for the last few years. Depending on how you count, you could say that something like 80% of the display spendings are in fact driven by direct response. In terms of how are they measured, what are we looking for? If we check whether a campaign goes good, whether we do some rebooking, we look at the click rates, which is nothing else than direct response. So we're completely, a direct response has overtaken the whole picture. And therefore, if we think about whether we're in a good shape, we should think about whether direct response is the answer to all our problems or to all the things advertisers are asking for, because that's how we are driving the market. So many advertisers are believing in that, but the problem is that almost nobody is clicking on ads, and Peter already gave his own figure for the Danish market, as far as I understood that, but he told me before that he will. The 11%, Peter, was it, right? Yeah. And as some of you might know, there is other, from Comscore, they are doing annual studies on the question, how many non-clickers do we have in specific markets? So here you can see for the US market, this is not the people responding to a campaign or so. This is simply the figure growing from 68 to 88% of people that would never click on a banner. The whole audience is not, we don't reach them.